5 o'clock, let's begin the Goldsboro City Council meeting of September 7th, 2021. And I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Ham.
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Present.
Councilmember Broadway. Just a second. Councilmember Broadway. We have 2 members online. Just a
We
minute.
have 2 members not with us tonight in person. One is in Canada, and one is at home with another issue.
Is he good?
But they're all supposed to be online with us.
Just 1 second.
Sorry, he's muted. He's trying to figure out how to get unmuted.
We do have a quorum, however, with the one of us here.
I'll continue and then get him back on. Councilmember Polak.
Present.
Councilmember Matthews.
Present.
Councilmember Aycock.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Broadway.
This is Councilmember Broadway. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
No problem. Councilmember Aycock. He's there. Okay. Councilmember Aycock.
Councilmember Aycock, are you there? Okay, let's proceed and then keep trying.
Okay. Okay. That's all.
Okay. First thing we got to do is a few organization actions, and we're going to start off by me turning in my resignation as the 5th District representative. I resigned as effective today. And the next thing we'll do is swear me in as mayor.
Yes, that would clean it. It's cleaner. I would suggest somebody make a motion for the resignation to be accepted of Councilmember Ham from his District 5 seat, just to make it clear or clean. And then once that's accepted, and then we'll just move forward from there.
I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Mayor Pro Tem Ham from his District 5 seat.
I second.
Okay.
Second is
Any
all in
questions?
favor, raise your hand.
Questions? All in favor? Right hand?
I have to do a roll call, right?
Okay. Motion passes?
We need to do a roll call with Mr. Broadway and Mr. Aycock.
Okay.
Okay?
Mayor Pro Tem Ham.
Yep. Yes.
Councilmember Jones.
Here. Yes.
Councilmember Broadway.
This is Councilmember Broadway, yes.
Councilmember Polak.
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews. Yes. Councilmember Aycock. Okay.
Motion passes.
David Helms,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States,
that I will support, I solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution and bylaws of the United States,
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
that I would be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
and to the constitutional powers and authority
which are and or may be established
which are or may be established
for the government thereof,
for the government thereof,
that I will endeavor to support,
that I will endeavor to support,
maintain, and defend
maintain, and defend
the Constitution and laws of said state,
the Constitution and laws of said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
and that I may faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of my office as mayor,
of my office as mayor,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you to those who came to attend that. But we're going to move right along, so if you want to stay, you may, or if you want to leave, you can do that as well.
It's not the agenda.
So at this time, there's a vacancy as mayor pro tem. Excuse me.
Mayor, if you would, go ahead and adopt the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. All right. You have the agenda in front of you. You've seen it. Is there a motion to accept the agenda as is or offer changes or to it?
Yes, sir. I want to know if I can have item E on the consent agenda, move to individual items requiring individual action.
Item E move to items requiring individual action. Okay. Are there any other changes? I want to add a closed session for a personnel item. Are there any other changes?
Point of clarity, sir. You said move the closed session for personnel. Are you moving it or are you just adding the word personnel?
I'm sorry?
Are you moving the closed session item or are you just adding the word
No,
personnel?
I'm adding close personnel issue to the closed session.
Okay, thank you.
If there are no other additions or changes, motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda with said changes to item E being taken out of consent agenda and adding the word personnel to closed session.
Second.
Motion is made and second to approve the agenda. All in favor, raise your hand.
Roll call.
I'm sorry, roll call.
Mayor Ham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember Broadway,
Councilmember Broadway, yes.
Councilmember Polak,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews, and Councilmember Aycock.
Yes.
Can you identify yourself, please?
Gene Aycock, District 6.
Thank you.
Welcome, Councilman Aycock. Okay, at this time, as I was about to say, We have an opening for the position of Mayor Pro Tem. Me vacating that seat. Do I have nomination to select someone for that position?
This is Councilmember Broadway. I would like to nominate Councilmember Pollock for the position as Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any other nominations? All in favor of Councilman Pollock assuming the role of the Mayor Pro Tem, raise your hand.
Roll call again.
Need a motion?
Yep. Mayor Ham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember Broadway,
This is Councilmember Broadway, yes.
Councilmember Polak,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews, Councilmember Aycock.
Okay.
Councilmember Aycock, yes.
Okay. The motion is carried. Councilman Pollock is our Mayor Pro Tem elect, soon to be sworn in, sir. If you'll go down and the clerk will swear you in.
I state your name.
I, Taj Jamal Polak,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States,
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina,
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
which are or may be established for the government thereof,
which are or may be established for the government thereof,
that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution and laws of said state,
that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution and laws of the said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
as Mayor Pro Tem,
as Mayor Pro Tem.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Okay. Back to the agenda. We have no old business, so next on the item of new business, we need to talk about replacing myself as the 5th District Representative. We have a proposed schedule, and I believe each council member has a copy of the proposal. Let me just speak to the dates primarily. The position is open now, and it will be advertised tomorrow. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? Okay. Be advertised tomorrow. And applications can be accepted at the city clerk's office up until 5:00 p.m. on Friday, September 17th. On Friday 17th is the deadline. The names of the applicants will be released to the media after applications have been distributed by the council and verified as being meeting the requirements of the council. Of that position, At the council meeting of October 4th, 2021, the council will hear presentations by each qualified candidate who are seeking office. Each applicant will be given up to 10 minutes to make a presentation. Then on October 18th at the city council meeting, the city council will decide if they have enough information to vote on the appointment by motion. Open the issue up for discussion if you have. There being no comments, I'll entertain a motion to accept this proposed schedule.
I make a motion to accept the proposed schedule for the application process for District 5.
Is there a second?
I second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Second, Gene Aycock.
Okay, James.
Okay, we have a motion, a second to accept the proposed schedule for filling the vacant seat of District 5. All in favor of the motion, raise your hand, please.
Get a roll call.
Okay. Mayor Ham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember Broadway,
Councilmember Broadway, yes.
Councilmember Polak,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews,
No.
Councilmember Aycock. Councilmember Aycock, he's muted. Here he goes. Councilmember Aycock?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Aycock, did you hear the motion to approve the procedure for,
Can you hear me? Okay, yeah.
Let's try it again. Councilmember Aycock? He's having connection issues. Councilmember Aycock?
okay, the motion is carried.
Mayor, you also are going to need a resolution for the procedures, those procedures themselves, and you just discussed the dates that were approved, but you would need to make a motion to have the resolution with those procedures attached to be approved as well.
This resolution here?
Yes, sir. I don't have a copy of that in front of me. I didn't see one on the agenda, but that resolution, that would be the same as used before, the same procedures for the
Yes.
other vacancies. Then, yes, sir.
In the folder.
It's in my folder, okay. But you need to make, somebody need to make a motion to pass the resolution as well.
Okay, we have a motion to pass the resolution that was given to you, that from the dates that I stated.
Make a resolution, motion to accept the resolution of the Goldsboro City Council establishing a procedure for filling a vacant council seat with the dates mentioned.
Do I have a second?
It's Councilmember Broadway, second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt a resolution of the Goldsboro City Council establishing for the 5th District with stated dates in there. All in favor? You want to call a roll?
Mayor Ham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember Broadway,
It's Councilmember Broadway, yes.
Councilmember Polak,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews,
No.
Councilmember Aycock.
Yes.
Can you
Okay.
identify yourself, please?
Gene Aycock.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aycock.
You are coming in and out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the Viable Utility Program designation status. And we're going to have Ms. Linda Culpepper presented that to us via TV. So Ms. Culpepper,
Yes, sir. Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to talk with you, Mayor Ham, and congratulations, and all council members. I'm going to try to share my screen, and if that doesn't work, Brad said he's going to be able to do these slides from his desk.
Ms. Culpepper, would you identify yourself as the office that you are associated with, please?
Absolutely, yes, sir. Linda Culpepper. I work with the state's water infrastructure program and currently with the viable utility program. And Kristen Furtenbaugh is online as well. Kristen is actually your primary point of contact with our organization. And Vic D'Amato, our supervisor, is online via phone. And if I could just get a read, are you able to see my slides?
We can see them,
Yes.
but we need to get enlarged.
Okay. I'm not sure if that helped.
A little larger, please.
Goodness, Brad, I'm not sure how to do that. I've got it full screen.
Y'all have those in your packet as well, Mayor.
Brad, would
You'll
you
share-
like?
We have,
Share your other screen. Because we're seeing.
It's Councilmember
The
Broadway.
duplicate, share your other one, we'll probably see the bigger screen.
It's Councilmember Broadway. I can see them. No problem.
Okay.
we all have a paper copy. If we,
Okay.
Okay. Well, if it's okay, we'll move forward then. And I apologize that they're not
Okay.
showing up as large. The Viable Utility Program was established last year in legislation by the General Assembly. And what we wanted to do is to provide you information because the city of Goldsboro has a decision on whether or not they want to be considered for a distressed unit designation or for that designation to be put on hold. The legislation that was passed last year provides funding in the Viable Utility Reserve Program for units to give them assistance with their water and wastewater utilities. And so that's why we wanted to talk with you tonight to see if you wanted to be considered for designation or if you want to wait. And there's going to be another cycle of designations. We're going to do an annual review of the assessments next year. So to provide a little bit of background on this legislation, the General Assembly has requested that the Local Government Commission and the State Water Infrastructure Authority both jointly look at criteria for what are considered units that need assistance. And they came up with 4 different criterion here. The first is if their fiscal affairs are under the Local Government Commission control. Currently, right now, 2 utilities in your area are under the local government control, Pikeville and Eureka. Under the second criteria, if a local government has not submitted their annual fiscal audits to the Local Government Commission for 2 straight years, those units would be considered for designation. The third bullet there is what we're going to focus on is this assessment criteria. The Local Government Commission and the Water Authority developed a series of evaluation points for us to look at across the whole state, looking at all the public water utilities to evaluate which ones were struggling financially and operationally to maintain a good utility service for their community. And so we came up with assessment criteria, and if you generate a evaluation of score of 9 points, and you have both a drinking water and a wastewater utility, you would be considered for designation. And if you just provided one of those services, if you had a score of 8 points, you would be considered for designation. And then the fourth criterion there, that's just other applicable information, is if there's something that hasn't been fully evaluated for a unit, we would be able to look at that and then go to the local government commission and the water authority, and they make the decision on whether or not any unit is designated or not. But if there's additional information for consideration, there's an ability to consider that. And I'll pause there and just see if there's any questions. I know that's a lot of information.
Any council member have a question on the 4 items of criteria?
I have a question. Where it says not submitted annual audits for the last 2 fiscal years, I realized that we did get the audit in for 2019. Our audit is due 2020 in October. Where are we on our audit?
Ms. Jones, our target date to get that done is October 31. We have been progressing very well on that, and we're on schedule to get that issued by the end of October. I stay in communication with the LGC weekly on that, and we've been meeting all of our deadlines and getting all that done.
Thank you.
Catherine, that would be 9 months late, I believe. Is that correct? Because they extended the original deadline due to COVID?
Well, I mean, yes, theoretically it's due at the end of December 2020 is when it would have been due.
Right.
And so we'll be 10 months late basically with the audit. And then behind that, we will continue to work on the 2021 audit, which will be due at the end of December.
Any other question? Okay, Ms. Culpepper.
Okay. Move into some of the background. When we were doing the assessment back in December of 2020, we used what information was available. And at that time, the city had not submitted the 2019 audit data. So without that audit data, the city had scored 4 points towards the designation. And then City Manager Salmon had asked us in July of this year to look at that audit data from 2019 and redo the evaluation and see what the score would be. Using your FY19 data, you would generate a score of 9 points. And these are the different criteria you can see on debt service coverage. There's a point gained there. Affordability is one of the key indicators. And of that, you all hit, you were worse than 5 of all 5 benchmarks across the state. And then control issues, there are 3 points there. That comes from a local government commission. And I believe that was indicated because of the auditing areas of not submitting it on time was a factor in that. And then the debt, your ratio there for deficit versus the debt. One of our key indicators we use in our division is depreciation, and that threshold is set at 50%. So basically, if you think about, the wear and tear in your car, the same thing for your water and sewer system, and I apologize, DW is drinking water, WW is wastewater in the slide. And looking at your assets, it's estimated that 60% depreciated. And our threshold for determining which ones need some more support is 50%. And the last is the operating margin. I'll pause again to see if there's any questions on that. Okay.
There appears to be no questions, Ms. Culpepper.
Okay, thank you. So your score went from when we did the assessment with the other units across the whole state, your score was 4, but now that doing the reevaluation with your 2019 audit data, your score is 9. And so we asked the Water Authority to give you the ability to make the decision. Would you want to move forward with consideration for being considered distressed, which makes you eligible for viable utility reserve funding? There's no match involved for that. And we're anticipating getting the American Rescue Fund money into the viable utility reserve when the state budget is approved. There's I know in talking with the city manager, I know it's got to be frustrating that the state budget is not passed, so we don't have total assurance what those dollars values will be. But right now in the state House proposed budget, it's version 6, there's $500 million that would be designated for the Viable Utility Reserve Fund. And again, it's grants and it's no match. The other option would be to be placed on hold, and then your designation would be reviewed again, as I mentioned, next year. We're anticipating doing that review so that we would take information to our Water Authority and the Local Government Commission on or about April of next year to give them an indication of how the utilities look at that vantage point in time. And we would, again, then we would look at your FY20 audit data that would have come in, and we would look at it and run through that assessment cycle again. So I'll move on to the, and I'll let you know this is the last slide that has many details, so I apologize. There's a lot of information. So there's different choices here to make, and we ask that you were to be able to make that choice rather than the state making a choice right now for you. So you could decide if you wanted to be considered for designation as distressed. You would be then eligible for the viable utility funds. Right now, you're eligible, and we've gotten approval for the asset inventory assessment study funds for your town to look at components of your water and wastewater utilities that are related to potential partnerships with the other communities in Wayne County and the county itself. You would not, if you're not distressed, if you decide to be considered on this hold the designation, you would not be eligible for any project funding under the Viable Utility Reserve. That funding is set aside right now just to handle those units that are distressed. And we have about 95 units across the state that are designated as distressed. We have just over 15 that are in this holding pattern where they have given us information to consider and have asked us to hold off on their designation. And we'll reconsider it with the new information in that April timeframe of next year. Things to think about if you decide that you want to be considered for designation as distressed. There are things that you would have to do, and those are in item 2. And you can see the asset assessment. You've already done some work there. We would look at that, as well as rate study information that's already been done, and then look to see if there's any gaps, if you could benefit from any additional funding to look at those assets. And right now, being not designated, you would only able to look at those assets that are related to helping partner with units that are designated. Participate in training and education. We've got a training program ready to roll out in October. It would be for some elected officials and some folks on the water utilities program area. And we're doing live presentations, and then there's also going to be from the League of Municipality. They're going to host training online where you could do it at your own pace. The third thing is short and long-term plans for infrastructure and repair. Again, this you already have a lot through your capital improvement plan. We would just look and make sure that all of the items, the scope is adequate to look across both the water and wastewater utilities. And then finally, developing a long-term financial management plan. That's the other obligation if you are designated as distressed. So I'll leave this slide up. You have a decision on if you want it to be designated now. We would take it to the local government commission meeting. They're meeting September 14th. And then our water authority is meeting on September 16th. And we would give them your decision if you want to be designated now or if you want to be put on hold.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Culpepper. Can you stand by for a few moments, please?
Yes, sir.
So, Council, you heard the presentation, and you've heard a lot of discussion in past council meetings of our water and sewage status. We're being presented an opportunity here to basically get grants and other funding at a no participation contribution as if we declare ourselves distressed and or if we go to a whole situation we get relooked at next year. I offer open for conversation or comments or discussion if you have it.
I'd like to begin. As stated earlier, I was in opposition of the rate increase of the 15.5%. And my main reason, as stated earlier, I said I wanted to utilize every tool in the toolbox. I think it's a no-brainer, since it's a temporary designation of title, that we utilize this funding and not postpone. I mean, we see what Hurricane Ida's done across the country as far as infrastructure, drainage, and we're about to come into a heavier season so I think that we need to utilize these funds. To me, it's a no-brainer to accept this money, especially with a no-match agreement. And I think that under the implications, the guidelines under 2A1 through 4, I think we can all agree that that's the minimum that we can do to ensure that we get this funding. That's all I have to say on that.
I have something to say. I understand the no match, but number 4, it says develop a long-term financial management plan. My concerns is, would this entail, this financial management plan, entail us as a city to increase our water bill?
Mayor Ham, would you like me to work with that question?
Yes, speak to that, please.
Yes, sir. So thank you for talking about that. The long-term financial management plan, it is connected to the rate study that's required, and it does look out into the future where your facility needs operation and maintenance, repair and renovation, and it does forecast that what your rates would need to be in order to stay viable and not rely on grants and loans. So it very well may indicate that you need to raise rates. And I will say two more things related to it. One is the requirement is to develop a plan. It does not obligate you to implement the plan, just develop it. But the other side of that coin is, in the future, grants and loans to utilities which don't set their rates at a level that will maintain their stability, they will get lower priority for funding. So the state's expecting that and this is through the General Assembly, they're expecting utilities are going to set their rates to be viable into the long term. And I talked with our supervisor who has looked at Goldsboro's last application for grant funding, grants and loans. And at that time, the city was eligible, based on affordability, was eligible for 25% grant. So that would mean 75% of what would come from the state money would have been loans. That's for a different program area. But to contrast it, the Water Authority has changed the affordability. They're looking at both water and wastewater utility rates together. And right now, your total combined rates on a monthly basis is averaging $67 per service. To each customer, I should say. The total bill to the customer for water and sewer is about $67. You would have to raise your rates to $80 total water and sewer billing to qualify for 25% grant match now. So things are changing, and that's why the viable utility does not have any, it's not a loan, it's pure grant. There's no match. But you can see in the other program areas for funding utilities, that affordability benchmark has changed. And if you were to apply for that type of funding, right now you would qualify for 0 grants. It would all be loans. I'm not sure if that helped, but I'm hoping to put that perspective on your mind.
Ms. Jones?
Well, bottom line, she just said that we will probably have to raise our rates. And people just can't pay $80 a month.
So we have to have a financial plan.
Right,
And that's coupled with a capital improvement plan as well, so.
Well, if we have a plan, I understand it's a matter of semantics, implement, get the plan, implement the plan, have a plan, and then implement a plan. But if we have a plan and we don't implement the plan, I'm concerned about the water rates for my constituents.
Understand.
And I realize I agree with Councilman Polak. This is a no-brainer. It really is, until we get to that. But at the same time, I don't want to see my city go down. So that's just my answer. I don't want to see my city go down.
And Councilmember Jones, if I could add to it, the grants are set up now to help take care of some of the maintenance, the operation and maintenance that may not have happened in the past, to do the repairs and renovation, so that burden is taken off of the city. And so when you're looking at your long-term financial plan, you are looking at after your utilities have been brought up to a higher level of service. I don't know if that helps in thinking about it. These grants would give you funding to do that project repair, and then you would look at, okay, now what do we need to do to maintain the system that we've improved?
And to maintain the systems that we approve would mean we would have to go up on something to maintain it. Am I correct? Or am I misunderstanding?
Are you asking
Yes.
Ms. Culpepper?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. It's hard to know until that rate study is done. It's hard to know
Okay.
what additional needs might be out there in the future. But at least you would have improved the system through this grant funding. And then you're looking at how do we maintain this over time so that the repairs and renovations are done.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Aycock, Mr. Broadway, do you have any questions or comments?
This is Bill Broadway. I have really no comments. I agree with Councilmember Pollock. We need to move on this, and we could easily move out of that category. But let's move now. Or my feelings.
Mr. Aycock?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
My feelings are move forward. I mean, we've got to do something.
Okay. At this time, I'll entertain a motion, Mr. Pollock, since you spoke for that, to designate Goldsboro as a distressed LUC for the purposes of our utilities liability.
I make a motion that we deem the city of Goldsboro distressed under the Viable Utility Program.
Is there a second?
Second, Gene Aycock.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Mayor Ham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes, I'll agree.
Councilmember Broadway,
Is Councilmember Broadway? Yes.
Councilmember Pollack,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews, Councilmember Aycock.
Councilmember Aycock, yes.
Motion is made and carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the 2021 Public Art recommendations presented by Downtown Development. Thank you, Linda.
That was moved, right? Can you move that to?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sorry.
Did you move that to items requiring individual action?
No.
No, sir.
That is consent agenda E.
Good evening. I have
Good evening.
some slides. Hopefully. They're coming. All right. Hope y'all are doing well. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Well, first, before the slides come up, I just want to let you guys know what I'm doing. So I'm excited to share some updates on the public art selection process. There we go. Just as our department has done for the last 6 years. This is one of my favorite projects that we have downtown and that the city implements each year because it adds a great deal of interest and buzz, particularly in the next few months. It also generates a variety of discussion and social media photos and a lot of extra loops around Center Street if you're like my family to talk about which ones your favorite ones are and make up your own names for them like my son does. So I just want to offer you guys a little refresher on the public art selection process. If you're not as familiar with it, I mean, we only do it once a year. So for background, the Center Street Streetscape project included plans for art to be featured in the roundabouts along the Center Street corridor. We have 5 roundabouts along Center Street at the intersections of Center and Mulberry, Walnut, Chestnut, Pine, and Elm. The roundabout where Center crosses Walnut features our large trademark granite fountain that serves as a permanent focal point for our Center Street corridor. The remaining roundabouts were designed to serve as platforms for significantly sized sculpture pieces. So I'll go through the categories as I show them to you. We have small, medium, and large categories. And then we also have areas incorporated in our medians in between and at the entrance of parking lots for focal points. The city made a decision to install art on an annual lease basis versus purchasing them for several reasons. First and foremost, we believe that changing the art out annually, again, adds that interest and adds talking points. It also reduces the upfront costs and it reduces long-term maintenance costs when you lease instead of purchase. Additionally, we hope that everyone will find at least one piece that they like. And if they don't like anything, then they'll rest easy knowing that next year they'll be different and they can be a part of the selection process. So speaking of the selection process, the staff requests the assistance of our community members, and we put together a public art steering committee that includes folks from all different walks of life and backgrounds that are interested in participating. And it's our hope that they'll bring different perspectives to the selection process every year. And we see that time and time again as we discuss the pieces. We also work with a public art consultant to help identify possible pieces from across the country. He puts out a nationwide call to artists. That resulted this year in 61 pieces that were submitted from 10 different states and several different artists. So we had a lot to choose from. All right. At this time, I'd like to recognize the following people that served on the Public Art Steering Committee this year. And members include our regular committee members, who are Randy Guthrie, Jennifer Collins, and Georgia Dees, who's the Arts Council Director, and myself. And then our additional members this year were Christian Dumond, Joanna Farron, Mac Murray Jr., Dr. Paul Rudder, Nicholas Sullivan, and Spencer Tate. And if you don't mind, I'd like to ask those that are here tonight to stand. Thank you for your help in the process. All right. So as I mentioned, 61 pieces were reviewed and shortlisted to 18. And those 18 were selected based on preference of the group. They were selected based on size, dimensions, scale, because we have to think about the placement of the pieces that we've had in the past, material, and of course, availability. The steering committee selected those 18 pieces, which were then put on the city's website and put out for public comment and input through August 6th. We received over 200 comments. I've got the number later in the slide. But for right now, I want to walk you through the pieces that we had to choose from so you can see the variety and the scale and just different types of art that we had to choose from this year. So first we'll look at our Center Street Roundabout pieces. Industrial growth is our first piece. We thought this reminded us of agriculture. In the middle you've got leaves and a lot of bright colors. Mirage is an interesting piece from the different perspectives. We like to think about the roundabouts and how you'll see the pieces from all points of view. Then we have Giraffe, which is a giant giraffe made of repurposed steel. This is actually made by an artist out of Greenville. He has several of these pieces along Dickinson Avenue if you've been to Greenville recently. Dreams is a steel piece that looks like a dream catcher. Very large. It's 10 feet tall by 10 feet wide. Three Planets, which is kinetic. So we're interested to see how this will move and just draw interest and discussion from folks that are both driving and walking. It's also almost 15 feet tall. Long Way Home, which is bright and colorful, painted steel. And then the last piece that we narrowed down to, we had 7 in this large category, is Flyers. We have a total of 4 in this category that we can select at the end. And in the medium category, these two, we have 2 pieces for this one. They are in the John Street parking lot and in the median on South Center Street. So Pop Fly is one of the choices. It's a bright, colorful steel piece. Homage to Gus is mixed materials. You've got marble, granite, stainless steel. I think it's got some stained glass too, so that one is pretty interesting. The screws that we lose are the hardest to find. I think this one wins the award for the most clever title. It encouraged a lot of discussion online. Dragon, another one of those repurposed steel pieces out of Greenville. Meta, this was a favorite. I will go ahead and let you guys know that this one was selected, but when we reached out to confirm its availability for this presentation, it was no longer available, sadly. But we do hope that we'll get it back next year. It won by a landslide in this category in public comments. That one is steel and resin, and it lights up as well. In our smaller category, we have these pieces in the median along North and South Center. One of our top contenders was Brave New World and Motor City. These are done by the same artist, so you can see when we talk about the pieces that we want to choose, we have to look at the materials. These are very similar, so even though both of these were at the top of the list, we only wanted to choose one because we didn't want them to be too similar. Particle, this one was also selected and unfortunately was no longer available, so we had to go for a runner-up. Color Me There. This generated a lot of conversation among the committee and online as well. Beehive. This one is actually, it's made of hollow steel, so as it rains, it'll make noise, and then children can interact and actually beat on it. And then Inspired. This generated a lot of conversation. It's very interesting. It's made out of cast bronze, forged steel, and it's a pretty good size for a smaller piece. Okay, so public comments. We had 213 responses to our public comments. We had more on social media as well. And the pieces that we have selected as a steering committee and with the public art consultant based on availability and public input are as follows. So for the large category, we have 3 planets, which is that kinetic piece, dreams, giraffe, and industrial growth. In the medium category, we have Pop Fly and Homage to Gus. Again, this is the one where Meta was intended to be placed, but hopefully we'll be able to get that piece next year. And then in the small category, we had Brave New World, Beehive, and Inspired. So those are all the pieces that were selected. And last but not least, the Public Art Steering Committee is hosting a ceremony on October 15th. Friday, October 15th is the day that most, if not all, of the sculptures will be installed. So the week of leading up to this, we'll work on having the artists come down to remove the pieces that are existing. And then hopefully all of them will be in place on October 15th at noon. So we invite the public to come out, join in the celebration with us. We'll invite the artists to come and introduce themselves and speak to anyone that would like to speak with them. We'll also invite our public art steering committees to come and present the pieces to you guys. That's all I have. Do you have any questions? Comments? Strong remarks?
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is code enforcement, planning department. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your participation in that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I was asked to present to you all tonight regarding the process in which code enforcement follows regarding overgrown lots. Let me get to my slide.
Hold on a second.
Okay. Code enforcement enforces Chapter 9603 within our City Code of Ordinances regarding public nuisance, which overgrown lots fall within that chapter. Basically, it states anything in excess of 10 inches in height qualifies as or is deemed an overgrown lot. And once we receive a complaint or a code enforcement officer sees a potential case, they go through a process, which you have the chart in front of you. It's that larger sheet. That is the process that we use internally within our InterGov system. It is the system software that we use to track our code violation cases. But staff provides a written notice to the property owner, which is done by certified mail. 10 days from the receipt of the written notice is given to abate the nuisance. Failure to abate the nuisance after 10 days, the city contractor is notified to cut the grass. Cost of abatement plus the $100 administrative fee is imposed to the property owner, and then after cut by the city contractor, the property owner is issued a citation reflecting that cost. And then at that point, we send those citations to our finance department, who is then responsible for billing the property owner. We do have a provision within that Chapter 9603 that for a repeat cut, which is typically what we call it internally, no notice of the second violation shall be given if that violation is within 24 months of the initial violation. So at that point, if we notice a second time that it is in violation, no notification is given, we can immediately ask the contractor to cut the lot. But as you see before you, the workflow within our internal system is we receive that request, whether it's a call-in or if it's our inspectors are out in the field, and a courtesy inspection is created, and we note pictures of the grass. If we go out and it doesn't meet our 10 inches or greater, the request is closed. If it does, then we obviously fail that, and that code case is created at that point. So that code case, once it's created, that is the inspection. That courtesy inspection is what we use as number one inspection. We indicate what that status is, what the violation is. We add pictures of that property to the case. And then at that point, the notifications are mailed out, certified by mail. We keep track of that. We can go into a system with the number and know when the mail has been received and or it gets returned to us and who signs. Once we create a re-inspection, once we know that it's been the 10 days, we go out and inspect. If it has not been abated, the nuisance hasn't been corrected, then at that point we fail the inspection, and then it goes to the contractor to cut the grass. The contractor, once he's on site, he takes a picture of the grass at that point. He also takes a picture after the grass is cut, and then that is uploaded to our case as well. He gives those to us at the time he submits his sheet that he has completed the list that we've given him, and then we create those citations, send them out to the property owner, and then also send them up to the finance department for billing. But that essentially is the process that we use. If there's anything else you want me to touch on, I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
The administrative cost, is that a one-time cost or fee assessed for multiple cuttings of a same lot?
Yes, sir. It's an administrative fee plus
Versus
the cost.
one-time?
It's the one time, and then we just do the repeat cut. And then so at the end of that 24 months, you're then charged again if you continue to be a repeat cut, but we have to notify you after that 24 month period.
And
So it could come to you in the future, just 24 months after.
And we have, I'm going to speak to finance about this in a moment, but we have numerous repeat offenders, don't we?
Yes, sir. I didn't bring the data. I wasn't sure what you were looking for with regards to data and repeat customers, or not customers, but violators. But we do majority, we know who's going to be a repeat violator. We're no more than just the contractor, landscape contractor servers for that. But I can easily bring back to you data that shows who those repeat offenders are.
And this is, I guess, a finance question, Catherine. What percentage, hypothetical, I won't say hypothetical, what percentage of violators pay their cutting fee?
Probably less than 5%. I would say it's probably closer to maybe 1 or 2%. I pulled some figures. We have approximately 600.
Could you come forward?
Sure. So we have approximately 652 accounts set up. And on those accounts could be multiple violations, but the totals that I pulled, it was an average of about $300 per account, and we have approximately $195,000 outstanding in the weed abatement category. We worked,
$195,000.
$195,000. So we couldn't pull the aging data. We worked on that, but couldn't quite get that. The system that we have is very clunky, so it takes a lot of effort for my staff to pull that information. We pulled demolition information. I was thinking that we were going to talk about that, not just the clean lot, but on the clean lot it was 652 accounts. But again, you might have somebody that might have 10 billings,
right,
on the one. So I can't speak to the number of violations per account, just due to the way that our system is.
And some of those accounts, their amount owed the city ranges in thousands of dollars, would you say?
Yes, I didn't have a chance to look through the data other than to know that the average was about 300 per account. You know, it takes a while to get up to a couple of $1,000s when it's, you know, $50 for the clean lot. Is it 200 for the violation, Jennifer?
No, it's $100 admin fee, and then it's whatever the cost of the abatement is.
Yep.
But on average, based off the way the contractor bid for lots, it is, majority of the time, it is $50 a lot to cut for about an acre in size.
So
Or acre or less.
we're paying, for a contractor to cut the lot. Forget about the code enforcement, that's their job, but let's not, I'm not saying forget about them, but then we're paying a contractor, then we've got to pay you finance department to maintain the data, and then some of these accounts are just letting us go out there and cut the grass, and we're not. I know we've dealt with this issue before, and the issue was, is it worthwhile to pay about, correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, about $1,000 to file a paperwork against a property owner versus trying to collect. But, you know, we got $195,000 that we've expended cutting private property grass.
Well, just to make sure you understand that per the City Code of Ordinances, it would have to obtain a $3,000 total fine before we could turn it over to the city attorney to move forward with trying to get court order. But what that cost is to the attorney or the city, I'm unaware of, and the time frame of that.
And also bear in mind that, you know, my staff provides assessment verification. So if a property is going to be sold, they contact finance department, and I have staff person that she verifies that. And then if the property goes to closing, then, you know, we attempt to collect it because it's actually a lien on the property. So we can collect that under Machinery Act. But as far as actively being able to send statements out, the billing system that was put in place it was like December of 2018, November, December, it's not capable of sending out statements. So my staff has to individually pull up each account, research it to send out a statement. So, you know, we try to collect what we can. They do that. She does that through the effort she has between doing her other job duties. But then, like I said, we will collect some of it when people go to closing, and we can collect those. Same thing with demolition. That's also, you know, a lien on the property. So we can collect some of that when we go to closing. So it's not much, but I mean, it is something. So.
Yeah. So there is no systematic billing per se.
We could if I don't have enough staff to do it, because this is the same person that does all of the insurance, all the collections, and up to 6 months ago she did the purchasing for me too. So that's one of the things we're trying to do with the part-time help now, is to get caught up and send out billing statements on the almost $1 million we have in demolition and almost $200,000 that we have in weed abatement. So.
Any comment from council members?
I have a question, and Ms. Collins, she can tell you, I've been in the office a couple of times about this, the revision of 10 inches. I think we're being too lenient. 10 inches is high. I mean, half the sheet of this paper is 10 inches tall. And during the rain season, you know, if you cut your grass today, 2 days later, it's gonna pop back up. And the process of the timing in which they're having to assess the lot, by the time they actually do it, it'll be 12 or 13 inches. I have a friend in code enforcement in Jacksonville. As I told you, they're 3 inches, and they're coming knocking at your door. And I guess the next question I have, thank God the house next door to me just closed 3 days ago, but not going to mention the realtor's name, but they said they were going to send a person to keep the grass up, which we don't have a fence separating our lot, so I kept the grass cut because it made my side look bad. But what percentage of, I guess, realty, people versus actual the homeowners? I guess what I'm asking, what percentage of the renters that may not have the responsibility of cutting their own grass, if we were to look at, say, for example, the realty company having the responsibility, do we have a large percentage of that? And if
Well, I
so,
mean, we
need to
have a
go
large
after-
percentage of rental property, but I don't have the data with me with regards to if it's being for sale and a realty
not
company is, maintaining it.
Okay.
But just from rental property, I mean, we do have a large amount of that, and that could be, adding to
Right.
the maintenance of property when it is being rented and these property owners are absent or out of state, and they're not making sure that property is being maintained in accordance to standards.
So is the bill going to
The bill
renter
goes, the bill
or the-
goes to the property, it is
the-
to the property owner. And we make every effort to try to notify a tenant
Okay.
if they're staying there, but at the end of the day, it goes to the property owner. The certified mail goes to the property owner.
And your data breaks down, information down in lots of ways, and it also breaks it down by district.
Yes, sir, we do have
So
that data.
Council members could get a listing of the delinquent people in your district if you wanted to.
But from our enforcement standards, though, we're equal across the board. I mean, but we do have data that can break it down. But with regards to enforcing of the code, it's citywide.
Well, I asked our planning and finance departments to bring this subject to the council because it's been an ongoing situation ever since I've been on the council. And to think about that, the city has paid out $195,000 for cutting grass on private property. Now, we own a lot of properties that we cut our grass on, that being city properties. But when we have almost $200,000 worth of owed debt for cutting people's grass, and some of them are just vacant lots, some of them were houses or apartments set. And I wanted the council to be reminded of this. It's something that I see is it's a difficult situation to manage. I mean, you got to reach a certain plateau of charges to take legal action, and then that legal action costs money, and then you're not guaranteed getting anything back. You might get a lien, and the property might sit there beyond our age. We may die, and the property's still sitting there with liens on it. But I just wanted to make the council aware of this, and so if you have people in your district, like I do in mine, I've stopped at their house occasionally. I don't do it on every day or anything like this, but I have stopped and say, hey, look at your neighbors and blah, blah, blah. So we'll just try to go forward with it, but thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate your time, and Catherine.
I have a question.
Okay.
Not about this, but when someone has a tree in their yard and it blocks the traffic, but it's their tree, but it's blocking the traffic of the city.
If it's
And the city, does someone call that in?
They can call it in, and we will, the city has the authority to prune or cut back anything that is sight distance issues or within the city's right-of-way. But as far as removing the tree, with it being on private property, it's the property owner's responsibility, but we have the authority to cut back what is blocking or within our city right-of-way.
Well, my concern is, does the city go out and cut a tree that is blocking, cut the branches from a tree that is blocking the traffic that no one has called in? Do they just ride around and
If
find?
code enforcement is out and we see, yes, we keep a list of what we call sight distance issues, and we work with Public Works to clear up those sight triangles. If you know of a location, we would definitely
Well, no,
appreciate
I was
a
speaking
contact,
to-
but they do look for that as they're out in the field.
So now, if code enforcement sees a tree that needs to be cut back, and they cut it back, who pays for that?
It's if it is something that's manageable through our public works, the city pays for that.
Okay.
And then if it's too large for our folks to handle in-house, then we do, through my department, we work with, it's budgeted for tree services and a contractor is hired to do it, but it is still paid for by the city.
Okay, thank you.
Jennifer, before you go, I think one of my biggest concerns with this system is the communication piece. So I'm looking at door hangers, I'm looking at verbal notification, personal hand delivery, standard mail notification, and certified mail notification. I'm not sure if we do all of those or we pick and choose which ones.
We're not, it depends on the case. But like I said, we normally do try to leave door hangers. We do try to, it depends on the type of violation that it is. But I mean, the inspectors do everything that they can to try to notify the property owner, but legally we're only bound to the written notice by ordinance that has to be sent certified by mail.
So I'm not sure with the certified mail if we're doing it with signature. You know, I learned of a situation recently where someone is actually deceased, so they're not going to receive notification. So what can we do to ensure that we are being effective in our jobs?
Sure.
And then to ensure that the person was actually notified, because we make mistakes, things happen.
Sure.
So that's something I want us to consider moving forward if we're not using signature mail or different things like that. And also, this is an idea that I want us to look at. People don't know what they don't know. I don't know all the ordinances, and I've read them. So I can't expect my residents to go and try to seek out even where to find our charter, where to find our policies. So we send out a newsletter, and I want the board to consider doing a FYI section or a did you know section, and let's start informing the community about some of these things. You know, I understand the financial, you know, restraint that it's putting on the city, but people don't know what they don't know. And I don't know if we're doing a really great job of informing people and educating our community. So that's something I want us to consider. We put a whole lot of words in the newsletter, and I was excited to see that people are actually reading it, because some people decided to join our boards based off our newsletter. Right. So people are reading it. So I really want us to put some FYIs or do you knows. And I want us to start doing that, like, now. Let's start educating our people on what the ordinances and policies are moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, no other questions. We'll move to the next item. Jennifer, you have that as well.
Yes, in your package, you have an agenda item referring to redistricting for current electoral districts. The boundaries for the city of Goldsboro's 6 current electoral districts were last revised and amended on July 5th of 2011 in order to more accurately balance population changes experienced as a result of the 2010 census. With new data becoming available based on the 2020 census, there is now a population imbalance within the city's current electoral districts, which may affect equal representation for its citizens and the one person, one vote principle guaranteed in the United States Constitution. In order to ensure equal representation, it is proposed that the city contract for redistricting of its electoral districts. Redistricting would entail adoption of new electoral district maps, which would reflect 2020 census data and ensure a balance of population in each district. By recommendation of the UNC School of Government, city staff proposes to contract with Pointer Spurrill and Marshall Hurley, PLLC, to serve the city of Goldsboro with redistricting the city's electoral districts following the 2020 census. The firm will represent the city by providing legal advice concerning the application of various statutes and legal precedent to the redistricting process. They will perform this engagement through a specific package of services and will be consistent with the goals of the local redistricting service, a project of North Carolinians for redistricting reform, a bipartisan nonprofit dedication to improving democracy through redistricting reform. The local redistricting service provides an open, nonpartisan redistricting process consistent with the goals of North Carolinians for redistricting reform. As part of the engagement, a professional demographer will analyze census data and prepare draft maps for the city. The demographer will work independently of the firm in analyzing the city's demographic data and drafting proposed electoral maps based on the data, while the firm will only be responsible for providing legal advice in connection with the redistricting and the proposed maps. The firm has agreed to provide their legal services for a flat fee of $7,500, and the demographer has agreed to provide his services for a flat fee of $10,000 for a total of $17,500 to the city. The standard package in the amount of $17,500 allows for the following services: unlimited phone and email consultations with lawyers during the plan development, up to 3 visits by lawyers and 2 visits by the demographer to the jurisdiction, development of redistricting plan by the demographer with a legal review by lawyers using redistricting software, including the creation of up to 3 alternative plans. Lawyers will prepare any resolutions, ordinances, or other documents needed to accomplish the redistricting, and the demographer will export final plan electronically to the city's GIS system, County Board of Elections, and any other relevant entity if requested. Understanding the city of Goldsboro will not hold municipal elections next year, unlike some other municipalities, the firm proposes a customized schedule to carry out the redistricting process. Suggested meeting schedule is an initial meeting to discuss the process, analyze the data, and solicit input from council members in the fall of 2021. A second meeting to discuss the proposed redistricting plans beginning in January of 2022, and conclude with the third meeting to conduct a public hearing and/or adopt final resolution approving the redistricting plan early next year. The planning director and the finance director have reviewed the fee proposal for this project, and sufficient funds are available for the consultant services and budgeted within the FY22 planning department budget. It is recommended by motion adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a contract in the amount of $17,500 with Pointer, Spruill, and Marshall Hurley PLLC for the engagement of legal services in connection with the redistricting the city's electoral districts following the 2020 census.
So, I believe that there are other municipalities in our general area that are using this firm, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Currently, Wayne County is using them, the town of Mount Olive, Craven County, Mecklenburg County, Pitt County, Wayne County, Montgomery County, Pamlico County, Cary, Clinton, Fayetteville, Greenville, Hickory, Mooresville, Mount Olive, Rocky Mount, Siler City, Tarboro, Durham Board of Education, and Edgecombe Board of Education are their current clients. And all of those, there's only a handful of municipalities that are not on the same timeline as some of these, because they do have elections coming up, and their deadline is November 17th of this year. With Goldsboro being 2 years, we do have some time, but we don't want to push it too far, as we need to go through this. We're required to go through this process.
Any questions of Jennifer?
I have a question. So did I hear you correctly when you said they're going to present different models of their?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because it's kind of coincidental. We've been talking about redlining and gerrymandering in my class, and that's one of the assignments they actually have tomorrow. But it seems like I've always thought that this is a premeditated way to count votes to offset either party. Some of our elections are nonpartisan, but I always like to be conscious of how this can affect communities. So I just want to make sure that they're going to present different models to show.
Yes,
what
sir. The standard package allows for 3 alternative plans. It's a very open process. The sole purpose of us consulting this work out is to keep from the gerrymandering. I mean, it's an open process. It's not something I recommend doing in-house. Okay. But in the event that we still feel like some work should be done and we're not happy with the 3 alternatives, they will do more mapping and do more things. It's just going to be an additional cost. But the budget, I had $20,000 in the budget for this process when we went through our budget process early last year, and it's basically coming in right around that cost. But there are some additional funds if we needed to seek their services a little further.
Okay.
Any other questions? Jennifer has presented us a presentation on this company and asked for us to approve the contracting of that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. If you're satisfied with this contract and their scope of services, I am asking that you allow the mayor and the city clerk execute that contract, and we will definitely have a more definite timeline as we approach the fall of 2021. Well, we're in the fall of 2021, but it will most likely be middle of October when they would come back and just walk you through the process of redistricting and going over the data analysis.
Give me the name of the company again, please.
It's a long one. Horner, Sproul, and Marshall Hurley, PLLC.
Okay. Do I have a motion to enter into a contract with the so-named company for census development work?
You could approve the resolution.
Resolution? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
Make a motion to approve the resolution.
This is Councilman Broadway, I second.
I have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mayor Ham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember Broadway,
This is Councilmember Broadway, yes.
Councilmember Polak.
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews.
Yes.
Councilmember Aycock.
Councilmember Aycock, yes.
Thank you. Okay. Motion passes. Okay, we'll go into the consent agenda.
You had a boards and commissions item H under the new business the Madam Clerk was going to handle.
I'm sorry, excuse me. You're right, I'm sorry.
Good afternoon, council.
Yep.
There is one vacancy on the Commission on Community Relations and Development, one vacancy on the Planning Commission, and one vacancy on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. I've placed a list of applicants for all of the boards in your folders. There are two recommendations from two of the boards, or a recommendation from two of the boards. Commission on Community Relations recommended Carol Battle for appointment, and the Planning Commission recommended Kevin Brown for appointment. If you'll discuss these and then let me know what your recommendations are, I'll prepare a resolution appointing those members for approval at your September the 20th meeting.
I also want to discuss these this evening, or do you want to take the names and come back on the 20th? And clerk is not asking for a decision tonight, but if you have any questions or you want to discuss it, fine.
She is offering you the opportunity to make a decision, and she said she
Right.
would include it in a resolution at the next meeting. If you prefer not to decide this meeting, you can obviously do that.
Okay.
That'll just put the appointments off though until the first October meeting.
I think we should move forward with the appointments.
Okay, we'll come back to that then. I'm sorry.
I think we should move to appoint now.
Okay, did you want to discuss it?
The board's made some recommendations. Carol Battle for Community Relations. In the Planning Commission, they recommended Kevin Brown. Me personally, I was thinking about Elaine Allen. She's outside of the city limits, but I know the county has 2 appointments as well, right?
I'm not sure if that, do you have any vacancies for your county positions on planning, right?
So she couldn't serve at all then.
Well, not right now because there's no vacancies for the county.
Okay.
There's
So-
only a city vacancy.
But I think her address was wrong. She's in the city limits. You know, that the one
Yes.
that had-
Mhm.
I'm not sure what you're looking at, Councilmember Matthews, but when we notified her address is actually within the.
Yes.
The Casual Drive address.
Yes.
Okay.
And then at the the planning board's recommendation was, strictly based on District 6 not having a representation on the board. And no one from District 1 not being had a spot or was the board. So that was basically the recommendation.
I make a motion that we accept the recommendation from both the Commission on Community Relations and Development and the Planning Commission to appoint Carol Battle and Kevin Brown.
A second.
And also the Parks and Recreation Board only has one person that has applied, so if y'all would like to recommend her as well.
Jamie Taylor,
Yeah.
in addition to Jamie Taylor to serve on the Recreation Advisory Commission.
I second that motion with the addition with Jamie Taylor.
I'd already said.
Okay, we have a motion to appoint the names for the various commissions. Motion was, we get a motion to appoint those.
I made the motion already.
You made the motion.
Ms. Jones second.
Second. Okay. All in favor, please answer roll call.
Mayor Ham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember Broadway,
Yes, Councilmember Broadway.
Mayor Pro Tem Polak,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews,
Yes.
Councilmember Aycock.
Councilmember Aycock, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now we can go to the consent agenda.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Hey.
We have received an offer to purchase city, county-owned property. Council must either accept or reject the offer, and if accepted, authorize staff for the advertisement of upset bids under General Statute 168, 266, and 269. We have received an offer on 807 South Slocum Street from Community Technical Assistance, Inc., in the amount of $5,445 even. The bid deposit's $272.25. It is zoned as R6. The tax value is $10,890. The offer is at least 50% of the tax value. The bid deposit of 5% has been received in the form of a cashier's check. The status of the entity has been confirmed with the North Carolina Secretary of State that it is in active and good standing. And at this time, I would just ask if the council would either accept or reject the offer on 807 South Slocum Street. And if you accept it, you have a resolution in your packet tonight to approve later on to authorize finance to advertise it for upset bids.
Okay. The board, this is the consent agenda. Do we need to vote on it?
You need to either accept or reject.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion, do we have a motion to accept the offer of $5,445 for the property 807 South Slocum Street?
Motion to accept.
Second.
We have a second. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mayor Ham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember Broadway,
Yes. Councilmember Broadway.
thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Polak,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews,
Yes.
Councilmember Aycock.
Councilmember Aycock, yes.
Okay. Next item is the miniature train, Parks and Recreation.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi.
Good evening.
I am here before you this evening to discuss you all either approving or declining our selling of the miniature train that's located in Herman Park. The City of Goldsboro has an agreement with the Kiwanis Club of Goldsboro in regards to the miniature train the city owns, which is located in Herman Park. The agreement allows the Kiwanis Club of Goldsboro to operate the train and charge admission fees. In return, the Kiwanis Club of Goldsboro is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the miniature train, setting aside a portion of the proceeds to be specifically used for the train maintenance. The miniature train was manufactured in 1953, purchased in 1955, and is one of only about 275 that were made. The last miniature train of this type was manufactured around 1963. I say all that to say, replacement parts are becoming harder for the Kiwanis Club of Goldsboro to obtain, and the miniature train will need to be replaced soon. So when we had our August 16th meeting, the Kiwanis Club of Goldsboro, they gave a presentation, and they presented a solution to you all with City Council. And their solution was to allow them, the Kiwanis Club of Goldsboro, to raise funds to purchase a new miniature train for Herman Park. The Kiwanis Club of Goldsboro would then donate the new miniature train to the City of Goldsboro. It will become city property. During their presentation, the Kiwanis Club of Goldsboro also asked the City Council to contribute the proceeds from selling the 1953 miniature train towards the new train replacement, should council decide to sell the current miniature train that's located in Herman Park, which brings me why I'm here tonight. It is recommended that City Council, by motion, either approve or decline our selling the miniature train. And if council decides, for us to approve selling the miniature train, we also need for City Council to declare the property as surplus, and also to direct the proceeds, which is estimated it could be up to $35,000 from the sale of the miniature train, to be put towards the new miniature train. And then there's also a resolution that's attached for you all to direct staff to move forward with that if you all decide for us to sell the miniature train.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion? Any questions? Okay, Ms. Brown has presented us a situation on the miniature train at the parks, Herman Park. She's asked that we approve or decline selling the miniature train. If we approve it, that it be declared surplus, and the proceeds of approximately $35,000 be put to the new miniature train, and then we would adopt a resolution to that effect. Is there a motion to do so?
Mayor, you got this on the consent agenda, so she's presented the
Oh, I'm sorry.
resolutions, so
Yep.
just to be approval during that period of time.
Okay.
Sir? Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I have a question. How much downtime would be between the removal and the old train to the replacement? I mean, I guess I'm asking because I want to take a ride on it before they take it up.
Well, the Kiwanis Club of Goldsboro, they've already started the process of raising funds and reached out to the person that's going to be building a new train. If I'm not mistaken, the process of building a new train takes about 9 to 10 months. Stating all that, the current train is still operational. They actually had it running yesterday, since it was holiday, Labor Day Monday, and they plan to run it, through the end of this year, and then looking at potentially the new train coming in probably around April, May. So the train season usually kicks off around Easter weekend. So saying all of that, it may kick off maybe a week or so later if everything lines up the way it should.
Thank
you. Any other questions? Thank you, Felicia. Next item D, request authorization to modify FY 2021 equipment purchase.
Evening, Mayor, Council. I have item D, and like the Mayor said, that's request authorization to modify the FY 2021 equipment purchases, Public Works. Due to equipment price increases, priority changes in administrative oversight, funds available through debt borrowing are insufficient to cover the cost of the equipment approved to purchase during the FY 2021 budget process. Foregoing purchasing the leaf truck, leaf machine would free up about $135,000 to cover the shortfall, enable purchase of higher priority equipment. F-350 service body truck, equipment tilt trailer, dumpster carrier trailer were authorized to be purchased through the FY 2021 budget process, but not included in the debt borrowing. The F-350 truck, as well as the equipment tilt trailer needed to pull the street maintenance crew's new excavator that's been ordered to and from the job sites. With regard to purchasing a dumpster carrier trailer, it would be insufficient and impractical for the number of dumpsters being rented, relocated, and serviced throughout the city and Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, and we feel that needs to be upgraded to an actual dumpster carrier truck. It would increase our capabilities to meet the current demands. We actually have about 450 dumpsters throughout the city and on Seymour Johnson Air Force Base that we service, and the trailers, the one we have is a 1980s version, and a trailer just doesn't work hooked to the back of a pickup. This would be more efficient, more effective, and safer for the crew. The $135,000 made available from not purchasing the leaf truck and leaf machine will cover the cost of the aforementioned equipment, as well as other material and manufacturer cost increases we've experienced due to the delay from the 2021 fiscal year to the current year. Recommendation by motion approve using funds originally set forth to purchase the leaf truck and leaf machine, to purchase the F-350 service body truck, the equipment tilt trailer dumpster carrier truck, and offset other equipment price increases. That should have been equipment, the tilt trailer, service body truck, and the dumpster carrier. That's correct.
Any questions? Okay, thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move item E down to let's see, we're going to go to item F now.
Item F is Seymour Johnson Air Force Base truck entrance directional signage resolution of support. Representative Bell and Senator Perry were contacted by NCDOT regarding a proposed project that involves new signage in the city limits of Goldsboro and Wayne County. Seymour Johnson's main gate is on Berkeley Boulevard, and the gate for truck and commercial traffic is located on South Slocum Street. Trucks routinely come to the main gate and must be given directions to the Slocum gate. Unfortunately, the fastest route between the main gate and the Slocum gate takes trucks through nearby neighborhoods, causing complaints from residents. The proposed signs would direct truck drivers to the Slocum Street gate as they approach Goldsboro on the major routes. These signs should improve safety and congestion at the Berkeley Boulevard gate, since fewer trucks should need to be redirected to the appropriate gate. The budget for this project is estimated at $200,000 and would be funded by the North Carolina House and the Senate. Representative Bell's office is asking for resolutions of support from the Goldsboro City Council as well as the Wayne County Board of Commissioners for this project. It's recommended that council approve the resolution in support of the funding request to install guide signage for the base's truck entrance on Slocum Street.
Any questions? Okay, if we have no questions, we'll ask for a motion to recess to 7 o'clock.
Motion to recess until 7 o'clock.
Second.
Second.
Motion carried. o'clock, we will resume the Goldsboro City Council meeting of Tuesday, September 7th. And if the clerk would, excuse me, before we begin, I'm going to ask Reverend Tom Millay from the First Christian Church to come forward and give our invocation. If you will, please rise.
Let us pray. Lord God, we are grateful to be here tonight, to be gathered here in person, be able to talk to one another and see each other. We pray for the work of this council tonight, that you grant those gathered here sharp minds, that you open their ears to one another, that you give them hearts that are open to understanding. Bless their work, Lord, and may it be fruitful for the good of this city here in Goldsboro, North Carolina. May you bless them and keep them this night. Give them peace and safety as they do their work here and as they go forth. And may you grant peace and safety to all those who do good for this city here in Goldsboro. Keep us this night close to you, our Creator and our Maker, we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Take care of that child. Put in the bed.
Put my 3-year-old down.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mayor Ham,
Yes?
Councilmember Jones,
Here.
Councilmember Broadway,
Councilmember Broadway, yes.
Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem Polak,
Oh, present.
Councilmember Matthews, and Councilmember Aycock.
Okay. Councilmember Aycock, we lost him. He was calling in, but we lost communications with him. Okay, we have a quorum and the roll has been called. Next item on the agenda is minutes of the work session and regular meeting of August 16th, 2021. Offer for approval. We have a motion to approve the minutes of August.
Motion to approve, Councilmember Broadway.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and second. Roll call.
Mayor Ham,
Yes?
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember Broadway,
Yes, Councilmember Broadway.
Mayor Pro Tem Polak,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews,
Yes.
Councilmember Aycock.
Councilmember Aycock, yes.
Oh, he's fine. Good. The minutes of August 16th are approved. We have no presentations. Have anyone that wants to come forward for public comment? Any issue that you want to speak to? Okay, there being none,
Yes.
we'll move.
Mr. Jones?
I'm sorry. Come forward, sir. If you'll give the clerk your name and address.
Yes. My name is Jomo Jones, and Birthright Property Management.
Okay.
And I just want to speak on the behalf of District 3. Birthright Property Management, what we do, we buy properties that are distressed, and we renovate them, and we resell them. And I just wanted to give a big shout out to Taj Polak over in his district. We purchased 2 properties there, and we were able to renovate both properties. One property was bought for $40,000. We was able to resell it for $175,000. So what's happening is bringing the property value up in that community, and also in that particular area, Walnut, Lee Street, the other homeowners are beginning to fix up their properties. So it's making that area look beautiful, and also bringing the property value up in that area. So I just want to give a shout out to City Councilman Taj Polak for his kind words and coming by to the site and different things like that, talking to the guys. We really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for the kind comments. And
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Polak for his interest as well. Is there anyone else that desires to speak? Anyone else? There being none, we'll close the public comment period and move to consent agenda. We have items B, C, D, and F. Item E was moved to items requiring individual action. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve this consent agenda.
Second.
That's be it, items B, C, D, and F. Motion was made and second. Roll call?
Mayor Ham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember Broadway,
Yes, Councilmember Broadway.
Mayor Pro Tem Polak,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews,
Yes.
Councilmember Aycock.
Councilmember Aycock, yes.
Okay. Next item is items requiring individual action, and we have an amendment to the Code of Ordinance, Chapter 130, Section 130.07, concealed handgun, Parks and Recreation.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
I'm here before you tonight for an amendment to the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 130, Section 130.07, concealed handguns. So due to changes in North Carolina statutes, signage in public locations such as city parks may be outdated and no longer in compliance with state law. It was requested that outdated signage be removed and replaced with signage in compliance with state law. Since the change in state law, public parks no longer fall under the definition of recreational facilities in General Statute 14.415.23. This change in definition has been interpreted to mean that cities and counties may no longer adopt ordinances preventing the carrying of concealed handguns by individuals with concealed carry permits. Chapter 130, Section 130.07 of the City of Goldsboro's Code of Ordinances needs to be amended to comply with state laws. Any signage in non-compliance needs to be replaced with signage complying with state law and the revised city ordinance. So the recommendation is, by motion, approve changes to Chapter 130, Section 130.07 of the City of Goldsboro's Code of Ordinances to comply with state law and replace non-compliant signage with new signage in compliance with state law and the revised ordinance.
So I believe this was brought to our attention by someone, a sign at Herman Park, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And this ordinance would correct that?
Yes.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Do I have a motion to approve the change in the ordinance?
I make a motion to make a change in the ordinance according to the state law.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Ham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember Broadway,
Yes, Councilmember Broadway.
Mayor Pro Tem Polak,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews, Councilmember Aycock.
Councilmember Aycock, yes.
Okay, the motion is carried. And we have a pardoning amendment to that, I guess.
Yes. So this is amendment to the code of Ordinances, Chapter 97, Section 97.05, Firearms. Again, due to changes in North Carolina statutes, signage in public locations such as city parks may be outdated and no longer in compliance with state law. As with the other agenda item, we're requesting that signage be changed per the new state law. The reason why this is different is the first one, Chapter 130, was for the City of Goldsboro. For Parks Recreation, we have our own chapter, which is Chapter 97. So we're just trying to make everything be in compliance. And so this is what this is referring to, this second one. For Chapter 97, Section 97.05 of the City of Goldsboro's Code of Ordinances needs to be amended to comply with state laws. And again, any signage in noncompliance needs to be replaced with signage complying with state law in the revised city ordinance. So the recommendation by motion, approve changes to Chapter 97, Section 97.05 of the City of Goldsboro's Code of Ordinances, and again, this is specifically for Parks and Recreation, to comply with state law and replace non-compliant signage with new signage in compliance with state law and the revised ordinance.
Thank you. Any questions? Do we have a motion to approve the changes, Chapter 97, Section 9705 of the city ordinance that complies with state law?
Make a motion to change the amendment to the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 97, Section 9705, for firearms.
Is there a second? Do I have a second?
Councilman Aycock, second.
Okay. Councilman Aycock, second. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mayor Ham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember Broadway,
Yes, Councilmember Broadway.
Mayor Pro Tem Polak,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews, Councilmember Aycock.
Councilmember Aycock, yes.
Thank you. Then we move to item E, that we move from the consent agenda down to items requiring individual action.
Item E is Z921 Paul Vinson. The property is located on the south side of 11th Street at the intersection of 11th Street and North William Street. The applicant owns the subject property, and majority of the property is zoned currently highway business. A portion of the property is currently zoned general business as well. The applicant requests to rezone the entire property to general business for commercial development purposes. If the property is rezoned, site and landscape plans will be required and approved by city officials prior to construction permits, if issued in the future. Surrounding zoning to the north, you have residential R6 and general business. To the south, you have highway business, general business, and residential manufactured non-conforming lots. To the east, highway business, and to the west, general business. Currently, the property is clear and vacant, and the city's comprehensive land use plan recommends commercial development for the property. The subject property is not located in a special flood hazard area. City water and sewer utilities are available to serve the property. At the public hearing on August 16th, an adjacent property owner spoke with concerns regarding future development and type of development. No other person spoke for or against the rezoning request. It is recommended by motion to accept the Planning Commission's recommendation and find the request consistent with the city's adopted comprehensive land use plan, and find the proposed zoning amendment reasonable and in the public's interest because zoning is compatible with the adjacent properties within the surrounding area, and adopt an ordinance changing the zoning for the property from highway business to general business. The Planning Commission, which I see we failed to include that in your agenda memo, they did recommend approval to rezone at their meeting last week. Any questions?
I don't have a question. I just want to make a comment. I know a lot of times people don't come to the meetings out of fear of speaking at the podium, but I have received several calls from residents in that community. Their main concern is with the unknown of what it could possibly be, and some of these individuals would literally be facing that business. Mr. Bunch, who spoke on that night, was very concerned about that, and like I said, this is my district, so it always, to me, comes to what the concerns of my constituents are. I know, like I said, that it would be literally facing their property, and the highway expansion and all that. Some of the concerns of the neighbors were just that they didn't know what was coming, and the traffic off of the new highway, bottlenecking and whatever into that neighborhood. They were just kind of concerned. So I'm not in favor of that. That's all I had to add to that.
I have a question. Will this cause danger?
I think so. I mean, it's directly across the street. I'm very familiar.
Well, I just want to clarify, if there's a permitted use by right that is both permitted in highway business and general business as the property is currently zoned, then the applicant could, or the property owner could submit a site plan for city staff review as long as it met all the development regulations of the ordinance and be permitted by right. The applicant is just strictly wanting to rezone the entire parcel as general business.
So you're saying, let me make sure I'm listening, is that the owner could...
If he chooses to sell, I mean, he could choose to sell the property in the future, but if the owner had a developer approach him or the owner chooses to develop the property, under its current zoning regulations, it would have to be a use that would be both permitted in highway business and general business. He is strictly just taking the split zoning and making the entire parcel one zoning district. And there are some uses that are permitted in general business that are not permitted in highway business. But in most cases, anything that brings concern, as the council has approved the UDO, those types of uses require special use permit, which would be required to have a public hearing, come before city council. But if he just wanted to develop it as an office space or a simple retail space, it's not going to be a very large building to begin with, or developed area just due to setbacks and it being a small developable lot.
But we don't know what
But
he
no,
wants.
ma'am, we do not know. But he has uses that are permitted by right. So, I mean, he could bring in something tomorrow that would be an office use or retail space, and as long as he meets the development regulations of our UDO, we can't deny him developing the property.
So it doesn't really matter.
I can't say it doesn't matter.
I'm asking. You know.
Right, but I mean, I can't deny him development of the property if he meets the intent of the UDO. If it's permitted use by right.
But what I meant, it didn't really matter to the constituent because he could still do whatever.
I mean, our ordinance has things in place. I mean, we have buffers in place, vegetative buffers. That's why we have setbacks to keep things off the property lines. Obviously, we know that there's road improvements occurring now with William Street. And most likely, if they had any driveway permits, would be off the 11th Street, which is DOT maintained, and they would issue those permits or review for those driveway permits. That would be where he would have to most likely enter the property. They wouldn't give him access from William Street.
So there are still steps and procedures and policies that he will still have to follow, and it could possibly come back before this board with a public hearing, so that way the public could speak on their approval or disapproval, and then we could make a final determination. So right now, we're just speaking on what we don't know, which I don't think is really fair to the applicant at this point. I understand the concerns of those people around him, but we don't know what he's going to put there. And I don't think it's really fair to say no just because we don't know, because there are a lot of times we approve it and we don't know.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, the only reason it would come back before city council is if it requires a special use permit.
Okay.
That being whatever he proposes. So let's say it's a place of entertainment. That's
Right.
just an easy one or something that has outdoor storage. Those types of uses require a special use permit, and that would come back before city council with a public hearing, and adjacent property owners or anyone would, with substantial evidence, so to speak, would be able to address or indicate their concerns.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the Planning Commission to change the zoning for this property.
We have a motion to accept the Planning Commission's recommendation to approve the rezoning. Is there a second?
Councilman Aycock, second.
Madam Clerk, will call the roll?
Mayor Ham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yeah.
Councilmember Broadway,
Yes, Councilmember Broadway.
Mayor Pro Tem Polak,
No.
Councilmember Matthews,
Yes.
Councilmember Aycock.
Councilmember Aycock, yes.
Motion carries. Okay, that takes care of the consent agenda and the items requiring individual action. Next on the item is city manager report or comments.
Yes, sir. I hope everyone had a safe and enjoyable Labor Day weekend. I'd like to particularly thank the city employees for everything they do every day to keep the city running, and in particular those city employees that were working this weekend. I'd also like to remind everybody about the COVID Delta variant. That's more contagious and worse outcomes than the previous variants. Hospitals are seeing more patients. I'd ask everyone to please consider their own risk factors and the latest information that's out there and take the appropriate precautions. Thank you, sir.
We'll go around the council for council comments. We'll start with Councilman Aycock.
No comment.
Mr. Broadway, since you're calling in, how about you?
No comment.
Okay. Ms. Jones?
Yes, I'd just like to thank my community. There were two fires this month, but one in the area around Whitfield Sherrod Court. I want to thank that community for rallying around this young lady and helping her with items that she needed. I just thought that was really good for our community. And if there's anyone listening, I want to thank you. And she is doing well, and she does have another place to stay. So thank you to that community.
Yeah, I just want to begin by thanking God, my biological family, and my extended family throughout my district for your confidence in me and your support. I am aware that all votes that I make are not acceptable in the eyes of everyone. However, that is what makes me an individual and sticking to what I believe will benefit not only my district, but my city as a whole. In the past few months, I've seen a lot of change and confidence has grown, as Mr. Jones stated. The house next door to me just sold, so the community is on the up and up. I want that to extend throughout the city, and I do believe that we can make a change. I also want to give a special shout out to my student. Stand up, Mr. Richardson. I told you I would give you a shout out. My student, I spoke to my class and tell them to be accountable and be a part of the process as far as it relates to municipalities. And so I'm glad to see that you came out, young man. I appreciate your support. Thank you, sir. That's all I have.
Ms. Matthews?
Did we vote on the consent agenda? Did we do that?
Yes, we've already gone through the consent agenda and the items requiring individual action.
We voted on all of them. Okay. No comment.
Okay, we have a couple of proclamations to read. I'm going to start it off with Constitution Week. Whereas September 17, 2021 marks the 234th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document and the anniversary of its creation, as well as the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17 through 23 as Constitution Week, and whereas the David Williams chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution does hereby acknowledge and commemorate the official recognition being given to this magnificent document on its anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will be observed during Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, David Ham, Mayor of the City of Goldsboro, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through 23 as Constitution Week in Goldsboro, North Carolina, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideas and the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. And witness, therefore, I have unto this set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Goldsboro, North Carolina to be affixed the 7th day of September 2021. Next item is the Hispanic Heritage Month Proclamation, and Mayor Pro Tem will read that.
Hispanic Heritage Month Proclamation. Whereas each year from the 15th of September to the 15th of October, National Hispanic Heritage Month is celebrated throughout the United States. Whereas Hispanics comprise roughly 10.7% of the population of the state of North Carolina as of 2019, and have both been an integral and necessary community in our state. Whereas Hispanics comprise 12.4% of the population of Wayne County. Whereas the city of Goldsboro openly welcomes and supports its distinct cultural diversity. Whereas we are further inspired by the economic, social, and cultural contributions of the Hispanic community within the city of Goldsboro and Wayne County. Whereas we understand that although this national recognition lasts each year for 1 month, we work endlessly to create a more socially inclusive and diverse society with equality for all populations. Now, therefore, David Ham, Mayor of the City of Goldsboro, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim September 2015 through October 15 as Hispanic Heritage Month in Goldsboro, North Carolina, and extend best wishes to all of our communities as they hold appropriate ceremonies to commemorate this observance. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Goldsboro, North Carolina, to be affixed this 7th day of September 2021 under the leadership of David Ham, Mayor.
Okay, at this time, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session for personnel matters.
Make a motion to go into closed session for personnel matters.
And second. Do we have-
Second.
Can I have a second?
We need to vote.
Ham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember Broadway,
Yes. Councilmember Broadway.
Mayor Pro Tem Holak,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews,
Yes.
Councilmember Aycock. Councilmember,
Yes, Councilmember Aycock.
thank you.
Okay, motion passes. We're now in closed session.
says we're back live, so it'd be at the point where now you would entertain a motion to adjourn. Just having announced that we come out of closed session back into open session.
We're now out of closed session, back into open session.
Is there any further business, I guess, for the council?
Do we have any further business for the council? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Adjourn.